Bitch. That. Let's see if yes. Alright, fuck it. Worked.
sword style Kyutori. It's crazy when you think about.
Well, I don't want to spoil One Piece for y'all, but I'm gonna have to be here for a second.
How many moves Oda has given Zoro of the entire series of One Piece. Zoro has very, very strong haki, can use Conqueror's haki infusion with weird green embers on his flames, and undoubtedly has insane physique, without a doubt. However, when is Zoro at his best? When is Zoro truly at his best? The answer is simple. When he wields all three of his blades. Zoro's haki level does not change if he's using one sword or two swords or three swords, since haki comes from within. Like we read before in chapter 939, Hyogoro literally says as much, where he says, and I quote again, Strad Fellow, in 102, there is an invisible power that stems from the body and can be infused with the blade. So once again, Zoro's haki levels will not change. But if three versions of Zoro existed, a one sword style version, a two sword style version, and a three sword style version, the two sword style version will always be stronger than the one sword style version. And the three sword style version will always be stronger than the two sword style version. Why, you ask? Because Zoro can only use his best sword techniques when he's wielding all three of his blades. The very thing he spent most of his life training for. Santori. That's why he told Brook Ryoma that he wished he could have shown him his Santori. That's why in chapter 1010, Zoro's best shot was going Kyutoryu 9 sword style from his 3 sword style fight against Kaido. In fact, Zoro can't even use his Ashura Kyutoryu 9 sword style without all 3 of his swords. And listen, man, I've been around for a while in this game. I really have. I have never heard a good argument against the idea that Zoro with 1 sword or 2 swords is superior than Zoro with 3 swords. I have never heard a good argument against it, because it's basically spitting in Zoro's face and telling Zoro that the sword style he spent most of his life perfecting and honing, the things he told Ryoma and the things he told Kaido, nah, dude, flip that better hockey, little bro. Lol. I said cancer-free. But his improved Onigiri, his improved Tornado, where it stays around for a long period of time, or his superior Phoenix Pound Cannon, his secret skills, like the Crossroad of 6 Paths, or the Great 3000 World, to look at all these superior techniques and say, no. Who cares? Trash, better hockey. No, wrong. It doesn't make much sense at all. And it's actually very likely, I actually argue the case, that his sword skills, Zoro's swordsmanship, matters more than his levels of hockey. And now we need to get some charts out. Let's try and keep things simple here and use a nice pie chart, because we can break down Zoro's overall stats into 3 neat categories, where you have his base power, you have his techniques and skills, and then you have his ability. For him, abilities, let's say, be hockey in general, so observation, conquerors, armor hockey, and let's say if Ashura is something else aside from hockey, things of that sort. His base power, let's say, be his physical strength, his stamina, his speed, his endurance, etc. And his techniques and skills, let's say, be his swordsmanship, and on occasion, his hand-to-hand fighting. I would argue that Zoro's techniques and skills slice is larger than his ability slice, since Zoro will never be able to be at his best without his best techniques. So saith the man himself, "Oh, Ryoma, I wish I could show you my 3-sword style." Even during Wano Country, his skills were improving at an astonishing rate, where, of course, people remember Zoro getting Conqueror's Haki Awakening during Arc. Naturally, that's the most prominent thing, duh. But he also learned the Firefox style. The dude learned the Firefox style off screen, of course, Oda pulling out one of his most infamous abilities, the Off screen, know me, lovely. And in chapter 1027, he learned the clear lance two-sword style move on the fly, which makes him move in air via shockwaves like Sanji Skywalk. That is a huge mobility buff for Zoro, because mobility has been one of Zoro's weaker points. For example, he needed Orlumbus to throw him to Pika's location. He needed Usopp to set up the Trampolia and cut the dragon's head off in Punk Hazard. Well, the clear lance, boom, shockwave mobility, this is a good buff for Zoro without a damn doubt. And even when he was using Conqueror's Haki Infusion against King of the Wildfire, was one of the first things we see him do. Use his added Haki power to make a long-range version of his Purgatory Onigiri skill, and attacking King of the Wildfire in like a Bleach Quincy Star pattern in chapter 1035. But that, of course, is not just Haki, it's also raw physical power. Just how Garp needs immense physical strength to punch the air and make a shockwave, and then combine that shockwave with his Conqueror's Haki, Zoro needs great physical strength to make his close range attack transform it into a long-range attack and make a threefold cross star. So not only are Zoro's sword skills top tier, but his physical body is studly. So when it comes to his base power, that slice is likely just as big as the ability slice, or even bigger than the ability slice. The reason being is because he's been training his base power, his physical abilities, for a much longer period of time than he has with his abilities and Haki overall. Keep in mind that in Dressrosa, Armor Haki coating was a big deal for him. And you could argue in some sense that his own physical body has to be able to handle his own output of Haki, since his Haki does come from his body. So who's to really say that's actually the case or not? But over the course of time, what is for sure is that his overall pie is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's going to improve and improve. Maybe his ability slice will get bigger than his base power slice. Maybe it'll start to even out and be the same. But I think universally, his technique and skill slice will be the biggest slice of his pie. I think it's always going to apply even when he beats Mihawk. Speaking of which, let's get over to the Mihawk pie. The pizzeria is still open. And we know by default, is that Mihawk, as the world's strongest swordsman, has the greatest sword play, the greatest sword skill in the world. That is what it means to be the world's greatest, the world's strongest swordsman. So compared to other people that rely heavily on their swordsmanship skills and techniques, people like Zoro, people like, let's say, Cavendish, like Ashura Doji or Denjiro and so on, those people whose techniques and skill slice is mostly made up of swordsmanship, Mihawk, it is Mihawk who has the largest slice. And within his own pie, like with Zoro, I would argue that his techniques and skills are the largest, that is the largest slice compared to his abilities and compared to his base power. Does Mihawk have powerful abilities? Of course he does. Why? Because he has powerful Haki. Duh, without a doubt. So that slice is going to be large just in general. The same thing for his base power, because his physical body is probably studly as all hell. But nonetheless, techniques and skills reign supreme. And part of the reason I can do this is that if I want to, I can actually fairly superimpose the feats of S-Hawk, the clone of Mihawk, who again, as of yet, has no confirmed Haki, onto the original, onto Mihawk himself. I do not doubt for a second that the things that S-Hawk can do, so can Mihawk, particularly in terms of swordsmanship. Yes, obviously, the Lunarian body physique, that does come into play. Mihawk does not have that. But if Mihawk needs to, let's say, use Haki to supplement for added power, then everything S-Hawk can do outside of the Spot Duffer ability, and of course his Lunarian traits, is fair game for Mihawk. When you add the S-Hawk bit in there, that is, again, a testament to Mihawk's techniques and skills and base power. That is hot. And speaking of Lunarians, someone like King the Wildfire probably has a large technique and skill slice too, but only a small fraction of that slice. Only a few anchovies. Delicious. If you don't get me started, but only a few anchovies on the pizza are dedicated to swordsmanship. It's a very, very, very small fraction of that technique and skill slice. He does enjoy a good duel, but admittedly, he does not care about swordsmanship. Like what Zoro said, he never said that he was a swordsman after all. And that's how it all makes sense. He can wield his sword as his main weapon, but not be a swordsman per se. In chapter 50, when Mihawk says, without subtlety, a sword is but an iron bar, King the Wildfire, when it comes to his sword, he's using an iron bar. A trick sword weapon that he uses to disarm certain opponents to get the advantage on them. No sword techniques or skills, nothing. Swords play be damned. His pie leans heavily towards abilities and base power. And I would surmise that something similar is happening with red-haired Shanks. 12 years ago, when Shanks had his left arm, I think that he was very similar to Mihawk and Zoro. His pie chart would have had techniques and skills be the largest slice among the other slices. He was likely left-handed based on what we see in the flashbacks with him holding his sword with that hand, or at the very least, let's say ambidextrous. We know that him and Mihawk had these well-known daily duels, and that his bounty at that point in time was 1,040,000,000. Very similar to Katakuri. But when he lost his arm when he saved Luffy, a shocking event that even Whitebeard claims caught him by surprise, I think at that moment, Shanks' techniques and skills, that slice shrunk demonstrably. And I think at that point in time, Mihawk was a superior fighter. Just horrifically imagine for a second that Zoro gets the 2009 X-Men movie Deadpool treatment, where his mouth is sewn shut. That's nasty. That's freaky. That's terrifying. But the main thing here for this video is that he cannot use Santoryu. And if Zoro cannot use Santoryu, that is a huge decrease in his combat ability. And so in that sense, this is what happened to Shanks. However, we find out in the ultimate chapter, 957, that Shanks became an emperor 6 years ago from the present of the story, which means it was 6 years ago from the time he left Luffy in Fuchsia Village that he became an emperor of the sea in the New World. And he did this despite losing his dominant arm and, on paper, having the weakest fleet out of any Yonko. And since 12 years ago, his bounty has damn near quadrupled, clearly evidence that he has gotten much more powerful from then. But how? The answer? Hockey. If his technique and skill slice dramatically shrinks because he loses his predominant arm, but somehow over those 12 years, his overall pie, after getting smaller for a bit, got larger and larger and larger and larger and larger, to where he is an emperor of the sea, the only way that can happen is if his base power and abilities make up for that. And right now, Shanks has the THE with a hyphen over it, the greatest hockey feats in the series by far. No one in the series comes even close to what Shanks has performed in both the observation and Conqueror's hockey departments. And to be clear, it's not like his techniques and skills are non-existent. They are there, and likely his sword skills are a nice chunk of his techniques and skills, but in theory, that slice overall is smaller than the ability slice and his base power slice. And there's a good chance that his ability slice is his largest slice, let's say 50% and up. And now all that's left is just gauging between Shanks and Mihawk which one of their pies is the biggest pie overall. And even though we know that Mihawk has better sword play, which I already broke down in a previous section of this video, Shanks' feats and his portrayal, they do outweigh Mihawk's. Say right now, Mihawk is the one that has displayed better swordsmanship feats than Shanks has. In fact, I would say that definitely. At Marineford, Mihawk had an excellent showcase of his sword skills on display. Literally proceeded to snipe Luffy through seas of thousands of men and tag Luffy with a cut. Yeah, bro. Mihawk has displayed phenomenal sword skills during Marineford, and we're giving him credit to what S-Hawk did to the main mountain of Amazon Lily. In fact, from the very beginning, when Mihawk diverted the bullets oncoming his way when he was at Baratier, when has Shanks done anything like that? When? I don't know. You tell me. I don't think Shanks has ever done anything like that with Griffin that we've ever seen so far. Though just in case, because some folks may get this confused, don't confuse feats and portrayal. Shanks, on paper, has the potential to do a lot of these things, but Mihawk has actually shown through his swordplay and his finesse, he's actually shown that he can do these things. And during the 12 years after Shanks lost his arm, I don't doubt for a second that Mihawk also got stronger. But the question is, how much stronger? At what rate did his skills improve? Mihawk's character, I think, is pretty interesting when it comes to his motives, his lack of emotion, and his history with Shanks. And I think I'm going to do videos, or at least a video, diving deeper into Mihawk's character. But even still, I would argue that Shanks had a steeper growth rate than Mihawk, likely since the last time they fought 12 years ago, considering where Shanks could have been power-wise when he lost his arm and where he is now. Where is he now? Well, Shanks right now is at the point where he can baby shake, straight up baby shake two people worth 3 billion berries apart. And on these incidences, he caught another supernova like fries on the side for free. His feats are actually bonkers, unironically bonkers. And in terms of portrayal, he has the Kaido gas in the pre-time skip when they had an altercation before Shanks arrived to Marineford. He split the sky with Whitebeard, and he is among the scant few men that Kaido himself acknowledges. He stopped the war at Marineford while Blackbeard was on a power high and Mihawk himself left when Shanks arrived. All of these crazy things in terms of feats and portrayal, all while being known for having the weakest Yonko Armada. And on the flip side, the strongest thing going for Mihawk's portrayal is his relationship to Shanks, where again, he has greater sword skill, greater sword play than Shanks. But keep in mind that Shanks and him haven't had anything going for their rivalry in the past 12 years, at least as far as we know. Even though Mihawk does have better sword feats compared to Shanks at this point in time, Shanks has better overall feats compared to Mihawk. And another thing on Shanks' favor for portrayal is the bounty, where Shanks has a higher bounty than Mihawk. And it's really hard to say, well, because he's an emperor, therefore he gets automatic higher bounty, because it didn't apply to Buggy or Luffy, where Luffy got the same bounty as Kid and Law, even though he's an emperor, and Buggy has a lower bounty than Mihawk, even though he's an emperor. Matter of fact, even Blackbeard's bounty at the beginning of the post-time skip was only in the 2 billion, closer to Crocodile's bounty currently. And once again, folks want to bring up the idea of, well, Mihawk has a black blade and Shanks does not, but we don't know how we get a black blade. And in the Road to Last Tale, it is strongly hinted at that it is outside the paradigm of hockey. Therefore, it cannot be used to theoretically bolster Mihawk's hockey level above anyone that does not have a black blade. That includes Shanks. So outside of sword play and swordsmanship, the feats and the portrayal weigh heavily in Shanks' favor than Mihawk's favor. This is why I call Shanks the red hair wonder. And I think that right now in the series, he has the biggest pie chart in terms of size and scale. This man is swimming in his pizza like he's Scrooge McDuck swimming through gold. The evidence at this point in time is just too strong in Shanks' favor. So, in conclusion, long video, let's keep this brief. I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm just one man with one take on the series. But I really did do my utmost to try and break this down in a simplistic way that I thought made the most sense in my view of the story, okay? I really wanted to cross my T's, dot my I's, and be as thorough as I possibly could without making the video like 2 hours long. I think moving forward, unless I need to, I'm gonna just probably step back from this because I am comfortable in terms of the Mihawk and Shank situation. I'm very comfortable right now. I think they did a pretty good job focusing on like the sword skill, what that really means, so people have a better idea of what I'm talking about. Because I recall the previous edition of this video subject I did 3+ years ago. Folks were really confused with the whole like ladder thing, like pure, true, regular, non. So I just really wanted to focus it more so on sword skill. Why someone like King the Wildfire isn't necessarily a swordsman because his skill percentage is so low. What sword skill can be in conjunction with other ability like martial arts, like marksmanship, like devil fruits and hockey and so on and so forth. And then hopefully these pie charts helped you guys out because I really want to have simple ways of visually describing what makes up a character's combat skills. Like what you would see in JoJo, where the eye catchers, they kind of give you the stand name and they give you what stats that stand is good at, something of that sort. I need to thank, of course, I have to thank Jafar from afar for doing all this. Me for doing all this work. I know it's hard for him to do this, obviously, particularly when I think he has a certain agenda himself, and this goes against that agenda.
I am not.
But the job is the job. That's A. B is that if you do enjoy my content at large, whether you disagree or agree with me, you can dislike or like this video. Subscribe to my channel, and of course, click on that bell to join the notification squad. So, on that note, everyone, take care, stay safe. Don't let the toxicity just overcome you and overwhelm you. Try and find your happy place and go to it mentally, maybe even physically if you have to. At the end of the damn day, we are all here to do what? Talk about a series that we wholesomely, for the most part, wholesomely enjoy. One Piece. So on that note, I'm gonna catch you cats on the flip side.
See you.
She said that the ancient weapons are mature women. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe there's something here because technically, sure, Hoshi's well not mature, but she's a woman. So it's like, wait, what are the chances are that Pluton and Uranus are both women as well?
Yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Once again, thank you, Par and Sai, coming along for another legit One Piece discussion, deep dive, inside baseball. Appreciate it, guys.
Another week breakdown.
Hey.
Yeah, subscribe to Sai, subscribe to Par, do not subscribe to me. No,
Subscribe to Zonin.
Never do that. And yeah, peace out, guys. So, in my opinion, in chapter 1086, which is the latest chapter,
Elon Musk just had a recent Twitter space where he discussed with another investor called Andy Wood any future developments coming in 2024, things like robotic AI, open source AI, and just a lot of stuff you do need to know if you are in the AI space. I do think that it is a really interesting talk because he touches up on some of the things that people have been discussing on Twitter regarding open source AI. He also does talk about the timelines for open source AI and how at around 6 months things could change because GPT-4 might not be the market leader we want it to be. So with that being said, hopefully you enjoy this Twitter space audio. I'll leave a link to the full clip where he does actually talk about Tesla, but this is a supercut version to only hyper-specific focus on the bits where he's talking about AI, which is relevant for all of you. So with that being said,
basically said, it seems that this is Grok talking. Seems that people are eager to hear about the latest developments in in Tesla's AI technologies. We definitely are, such as FSD 12 and the next generation platform for robotaxi. They're also interested in learning more about the company's plans for the Optimus project. Additionally, there is a lot of curiosity surrounding Elon Musk's thought on the AI space, as well as his take on the future of Bitcoin. That was a little repetitive AI there, but these topics are sure to spark some engaging discussions. That's Grok for you.
have more time than, you know, if you would like to go longer than 15 minutes, we can go longer than 15 minutes. I mean, I'm trying to distill my thoughts here on AI because I could really talk for hours on AI.
You know, we both Charlie and Brett are steeped in it. So is Frank, and of course Tasha. She's done her work on autonomous. But one of the things we've been very curious about is open source versus closed AI, and I don't know if you've seen the chart that Frank and Joseph did on our team, but they drew a line. They basically calculated performance improvements in both the closed or private AI companies and models, large language models, and then the open ones. And open is behind closed, but the performance is improving at a steeper rate than closed. Do you have any thoughts about that and about open versus closed generally when it comes to AI?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people know that, you know, I was instrumental in the creation of OpenAI, and in fact, I came up with the name.
Yes.
The open in OpenAI means open source.
Open, yes.
And started as an open source nonprofit. And the reason I wanted to create it was to establish a counterweight to Google DeepMind, because it was a unipolar world at that point. It was, you know, Google DeepMind had probably 2/3 or more of the top AI talent, and of course, vast computing and financial resources. At the time, I was close friends with Larry Page, and it did not seem to me that he was taking AI safety seriously. So I felt there needed to be some, like I said, some counterweight, some competitor to sort of the Google DeepMind. And frankly, instrumental in creating the company was recruiting Ilya Sutskever, which was a back and forth thing where actually Ilya changed his mind a few times and ultimately decided to come to OpenAI. So I won that recruiting battle. And that is actually what caused Larry Page to stop being friends with me, frankly. So, but now, ironically, because fate loves irony, OpenAI is super closed source and for maximum profit. It should be renamed Closed for Maximum Profit AI. It would be more accurate. So, because that's you know, it's literally the polar opposite of how it was started. I guess I generally have a bias in favor of open source. And you can see that certainly with the X platform, where we've open sourced the algorithm. And for example, for community notes, we open source not just the algorithm, but all the data as well. So you can see exactly how a node was created. It can be audited by third parties. There's no mystery, nothing hidden at all. So
that's seems to be one of the confusing things about open source as it pertains to large language models. It's not as simple, and I think this has been lost in some of the debate, as just open source in the code. It's open source as a shades of grey here, of course, with parameter weights, data. There's all of that spectrum, and I think that's been maybe lost from some of the debate. So it's great to hear.
Yeah, there's actually very little code, very little actual traditional lines of software. Certainly at the inference level, there's very little. It's a remarkably tiny number of lines of code. So it's just these giant, you know, weights files and, you know, what your hyperparameter, you know, numbers are, and it's basically a giant comma separated value file. So I was quite amusing to contemplate that perhaps our digital God will be a CSV file. You know, like, and then you make a new CSV file that has maybe more weights, and the weights are better, and then you pretty much delete the old one. So the AI is evolving and deleting its prior self constantly.
So we're going to worship a giant Excel file.
Kind of. I mean, you need a very big, it's a lot of cells, but it's really just a bunch of numbers, and then those numbers they're getting smaller in magnitude too. Going from FP16 to FP32 to FP16 to N16 to into 8, and now it looks like things are trending towards mostly int 4. So they're not particularly large numbers. Yeah.
And back to
So, I'm not sure if I'm probably not answering the question, but I mean, I think it's true that closed source is not that far, like from a time standpoint, not that far ahead of open source. But let's say, and if you assume open source is you have everything goes in 6 months, because of the immense rate of improvement of AI, that 6 months is actually a massive amount of time. Or at least the delta in an exponentially improving situation, 6 months will, I think, feel like an eternity. So I think closed will outperform open by a meaningful amount at any given point in time.
given the, I was just going to say, given the questions we were talking about before about truth and not truth, do you think in 10 years' time AI will have been a net truth improver or detractor from where we are today?
I think it'll be and speaking at least for Grok, I think it will be a significant truth improver. That is literally our goal: is to be maximum truth seeking, maximally curious, minimizing the error between perceived reality and described reality and actual reality, and always acknowledging the error, not being too confident about it. I think there will be a competition for truth, and people will tend towards the one that they think is most accurate. So, and if there's at least one AI that is aiming for maximum accuracy, I think it pushes all of the AIs to aim for maximum accuracy. Just as with the X platform, FK Twitter, as soon as X pushes for maximum truth and accuracy, it sort of forces the hand of others. The others now also have to do that.
The truth arms race among the ZSVs, and is one of our theses, I think, with Arc is that Tesla is one of the most undervalued AI companies there is because of the insane amount of data you've got on all to feed into autonomous. I don't know if there's any commentary on that, because I think obviously with the rise of these LLM companies, which by and large working off essentially available data that is not proprietary, the benefits coming to the companies like Tesla that understand how to use the AI benefits but do have these enormous proprietary data pools seems like that's going to be the next frontier.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. An accurate description. Tesla is one of the leading AI companies in the world, and with respect to real-world AI, it is obviously by far and away the leader. So, the word large language model, with the phrase large language model, LLM, is massively overused. But what I do see happening is somewhat of a convergence towards intelligence. It's Tesla, like really to make full self-driving work, you kind of need baby AGI in the car, because you need to understand reality, and reality is messy and complicated. And just as a side effect, the car AI has to be able to read, for example. It has to be able to read arbitrary science as just a little side effect of understanding reality in every language.
Boring.
you wish to call it. I said, why? What do you call it? He said, I am an alcoholic. I said, well, what's your name, dog? He said, please. Dog is my cousin. That's a good guess. My name is Running Coyote. What is your name, friend? And that shit caught me off guard. I mean, I didn't want to say my name was Dave to a motherfucker named Running Coyote. This don't feel good enough. He just put me on the spot. I said, huh? My name, what? Oh, my name's Blackfeet. Then I changed the subject. Forget about me. What's going on with you? I want to meet your chief. Why don't me, you, and your chief and your friends get together tonight to have a real live peace pipe smoke ritual? We need to celebrate, nigga. I thought you were dead. And he set it up. It was beautiful. It was just like I dreamed. It was all sitting around. The Indians was beating the drum. Other Indians came out the back with a long blanket that was folded in half and put in front of us. Open that shit up, and on the blanket was a long wooden pipe, feathers, bags of weed were all over the blanket. Chief walked over. The big ones are 50. The little ones are 25. These are 10. Me and those Indians got high as shit. I was bad. I told the chief. We was talking. I cut him off. Time out, chief. Sorry to interrupt. Fuck the smash, man. The weed is too strong. It's itching. This is PCP. The spirits have got me. Chief, the spirits have got me. And the chief threw some water in my face. Calm down, blackface. Splash. I said, hey, it's Blackfeet, motherfucker. Take it easy. Blackfeet, you're welcome to stay amongst me and my tribe for the night until the spirits leave. And they gave me my own teepee to sleep in, which sounds nice. I personally felt like it was a little fucked up, because they all had houses, man. It's like, why can't I sleep with y'all in the house and watch TV? Like, I can't be on this grass all night. Yeah, Indians is bruised, man. Everybody's bruised. Indians, they eat nasty food. All they ate was corn and shit. Doritos, I think they call it. That's funny. People only see the surface. They see the division in our foods. Just because I eat chicken and watermelon. They think that that's something wrong with me. Let me tell you something. You don't like chicken or watermelon? Something's wrong with you, motherfucker. There's something wrong with you. Where are all these people that don't like chicken and watermelon? I'm sick of hearing about how bad it is. It's great. I'm waiting for chicken to approach me to do a commercial, nigga. I'll do it for free, chicken. It's the least I can do. They make fun of black people for eating, what y'all eat? Beans, rice, corn. Listen, that's not a reason to hate a motherfucker, all right? It's funny, but it's not a reason to hate. The only reason these things are even an issue is because nobody knows what white people eat. You've been very good at keeping that shit secret amongst yourselves. I study white people. You don't know that. I write the paper on you. Not even for school, nigga, just to do it. Just get from doing independent research. I'm spending my money. That's why I'm working so hard. I follow you around grocery stores. They freak out. I just try to keep in the cart. They always say, get away from my cart, nigga. What are you looking at? Chicken and giblets are over there. You must be lost. These are vegetables. I know what you drink. See how quiet I got. Grape juice. Surprise, motherfuckers! You didn't know I knew about grape juice, did you? Oh, don't play dumb with me, but it was. A lot of black people don't have the privilege of knowing about some grape drink, baby. It's purple. I don't think I know what grape drink is. What? I have some apple juice if you want. What the fuck is juice? I want some apple drink. Scream. Remember that commercial for Sunny Delight when all the kids went in from outside playing? They all run to the fridge. All right, I got some purple stuff, some Sunny D. As soon as I say Sunny D, all the kids go, yeah! Watch the black kid in the back. If you ever see that commercial, you can look at that black kid. He'd be like, I want that purple stuff. That's drink, man. That is drink. They want drink. What all them vitamins, nigga? I want drink. Sugar, water, purple. Ingredients: sugar, water, and of course, purple. It's too fucking much. I got a lot of things to talk about tonight. First of all, I've stopped smoking weed. With black people, you didn't let me finish, motherfuckers. God damn. I'm sorry, black people, to break the news so publicly, but I can't smoke it anymore. Every time I smoke weed with my black friends, all you talk about is your trials and tribulations. I'm sick of that shit. I got my own problems. Like, that's a waste of weed. I'm smoking weed to run away from my problems, not taking on yours. Now on, I smoke weed exclusively with white people. Calm down, motherfuckers. You win by default. You got good weed conversation. All white people talk about when they get high is other times that they got high. I can listen to that shit all night. Dude, remember Frank's last week? It's fucking smashed, man. And catalogs everything they drink. 2 shots of Jaeger. Tequila. 4 bong hits, man. Beer. Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger.
That shit is great. The only bad part is you cannot pass out around white people. Every time white people pass out around you, they always do some borderline gay shit when the guy's asleep. Frank fell asleep, so we like stuck a carrot in his ass. Just shaving cream on his balls. Like, why, motherfucker? Why would you do that to a friend of yours? He trusted you enough to sleep around you, gonna put a carrot in his ass? Is that nice? I'll tell you right now, if I put a carrot in a black man's ass, that nigga will kill you when he wakes up for some shit like that. That is an automatic death sentence on the street. It's a rap for you. I'm gonna kill that motherfucker. I thought y'all was friends, baby.
Please, hold on.
I know, I talk a lot about race, but I don't want people to think it's more racist than it usually is. No, it's the same. Yes. You tall and dark with a deep voice, they love your motherfucking ass. That nigga's selling the shit out them All-State commercials. You're in good hands with All-State. White people are like, I trust him. I really do. I think he has our best interests at heart. You tall and dark with a deep voice, they love you. That nigga's selling the shit out them ADP commercials. Been ranked right motherfucking in the front camera. Don't you even think about coming in here. Look, if you don't get your black ass out this front yard so we both get shot, come in here, ADT. You tall and dark, they love you. Samuel L. Jackson is still selling the shit out them Capital One commercials. That nigga be cleaner than the Board of Health. He just sounds too edgy at the end, like he might, maybe could rob you. Just, what's in your wallet? God damn, Sam, what the fuck? You still out there, nigga? Shit's getting aggressive. Shit's getting more aggressive. Fast food is getting more aggressive.
He's the undisputed king of underground comedy. You've seen him in Friday After Next, The Pimp Chronicles 1 and 2. It's Pippin' Pippin', American Hustle, Catpocalypse, Cat Williams Live, Wild and Out, and more. He shut down the internet single-handedly. He's knocked out everyone from 108 to 308 pounds. He's back and better than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to Champloo presenting
You seen him on Pippin' Pippin'. You seen him in American Hustle. You seen him in Friday After Next. He has single-handedly shut the internet down. Give it up for the king of underground comedy, Mr. Cat Williams.
Yeah. All right.
Give a fuck about no 80, 90. You mean Jacksonville 89. That's slave heat. You be like, God damn, I wouldn't have been able to run away today. Take me to the goddamn dock. Man, I'm getting old. I used to be able to cut a fall sitting down. Just break it off. Now I got to lean. So that motherfucker hurt.
that shit, man. Is what it is. They use the TV to program us from a young age. You ever watch like a cartoon that you used to watch when you were little as an adult? Shit is wild shit. Some wild shit. I mean, like I was with my nephew. We sitting there, we watching Pepe Le Pew, and I say to my nephew, I said, now pay attention to this guy because he's funny. I used to watch him when I was little. And we watching Pepe Le Pew, and I'm old, man. I'm looking like, good God, what kind of fucking rapist is this guy? Like, take it easy. My nephew was sitting there cracking up. See, sometimes you gotta take the pussy like Pepe. Like, no. I had to turn the channel real quick. I turned on Sesame Street. I said, oh, phew, Sesame Street is much better because now he'll learn how to count and spell. Now I'm watching it as an adult and I realize Sesame Street teaches kids other things. It teaches kids how to judge people.